Hello and welcome to the Girlfriends Aftershow here on JLJ Media. I'm James Lott Jr. I went on Netflix the other night. I was watching some shows, and then I decided to go. I'm gonna watch some Girlfriends. Now I have all the Girlfriends episodes on DVD, seasons 1 through 8. I have all of them. But this I was like, I'm on Netflix already. I'll just go ahead and check out some episodes. And there's an episode, a really famous episode, that there's a scene in it that was altered. And I was like, oh, so Netflix decided to alter that scene. Now they show movies and documentaries, things that have all kind of stuff in them. But this scene from 20 years ago about a white girl saying the N-word, that's offensive. I don't know what's going on. So I want to talk about that episode because I've been wanting to talk about the episode anyway. And I decided this was the impetus for me starting this. The episode starts with Lynn's sister coming to town. Now, Lynn, of course, is the mixed biracial girl on the show, played by Persia White. And she did talk about her white past. And she found her blackness in college. That's what we kind of learned throughout the seasons. And she talks about that. And it's always kind of like her thing. I was white once, grew up with all white people. We met her parents, they were white, her adopted parents were white, and all that. But they had a thing called Gotcha Day. And that was because she was adopted. And I guess her and her two sisters, they got her, she was the gotcha. And they celebrated. Well, the two sisters were coming. One didn't make it, but the other one came. And that was Tanya. And Tanya was a white girl. We used to call them wiggers back in the day. A white girl who liked to talk and sound, have the affectations of being black. She liked black culture, black Ben. That's this character. And I thought this is the first time I ever saw this on. Again, I keep doing these episodes, and I keep saying this over and over again. This show was groundbreaking in many ways. They tackled subjects that just weren't done on television. This is a comedy, and this show does not get enough recognition for that. But I'm doing that, doing this after show. I'm getting recognition to it. But it was genius that one of her sisters was supposedly blacker, I say that in quotes, than Lynn. But it was so put on. Interesting, the ladies who meet her, Maya kind of gets it. She's like, there's always a girl, and I grew up, same with me, I grew up in South LA, in Inglewood. There was always a couple of white folks that sounded like we did, talked like we did, liked our music, dressed like we did, and we just kind of accepted it, you know. We knew they were white, we didn't think they were black, but they kind of respected our culture. They didn't do anything, cross the line. We just knew who they were. So Maya was like, well, I kind of get it. She's into that. And she said the word wigger. She says, I mean, she kind of, it was like, this is a term we didn't hear on TV, primetime TV either. And Lynn was a little embarrassed by her, of course. And Tony was not for it. Tony was not for it, which was funny because Tony is the bougie one. But that ain't quote. She's the bougie one. She's the upscale. You know, she comes from Fresno. And some kind of, she always say, country's grape stomping mother feet. She presents herself as she was more the one to be the affluent black person. So you have that. Then you have Joan, who's kind of first in the middle, kind of like, well, you know, it's your sister, whatever, and then slowly stops not liking her. And she says something in the series, in the episode, where she's like, it's just too much black. That's such a bold thing to say. I mean, it's like, you know, we may think that, but it's just like, wow. It's like, you don't, these conversations are just not had. They weren't had maybe 20 years ago, and how relevant today. And you start to question all of their blackness. Maya, of course, came across as the ghetto girl. You know, she was much more than that. She was way much more than that. But she was the roundaway girl. She was the one who had to speak, and she lived in Compton. So if you went by the storyline breakdowns or the character breakdowns, that's what they would put her in that category. Even though I think Maya was much more than that. She was not just wasn't a caricature of that, but she was the one who was like, okay, that was her. Joan, who had African art and statues in her home and like jazz and things like that. That was a good question about it. She kind of questioning her blackness a little bit. I mean, maybe people go, well, but as a black person, I kind of get it that we're black all the time. Like we are who we are. We need almost somebody coming in and they're not black, hoisting it on you. It's a little much. I totally admit that's a little much. You're like, that's just a little much. But it's an interesting position to feel, right? So Tanya calls out all of them, makes enemies of all of them, whatever. So she's going to get her hair done, her hair braided. This seems a little clunky, I would say. Some folks think it's an age well. It's a little clunky, but the message still is there. Um, it's a Jay-Z song. So if you get the original, it's a Jay-Z song, and they're all singing it, and she is too. And she says the N-word that's in the song. She's not calling anybody the N-word, it's just part of the song that ends in GA, not EER. And she says that. And so Lynn gets embarrassed, takes her out of situations, the store, and talks to her about it. And she tries to defend herself, which is another thing that's so relevant today. I always said, yes, there is a double standard. There's some words you just can't say. Sorry, we can say them, you can't say them. I don't care. It's double standard. Yes, I get it. So there is. I've always said that. I don't apologize for that. But it was interesting because they had to come from the point of view of like, but no, I wasn't saying this. I mean, it's part of the song. Why can't I say it? Which is still a larger conversation we're still having today. I put out a TikTok, a dumb TikTok that's 8 seconds long that went viral. And it's about being black, but not really, just some comedy thing I did. Well, all these white people are saying, well, now can I say the N-word? Because it's this whole bread refrigerator thing. And they're like, can I not be referred? Can I say the N-word? Can I say that? And they almost say it. I'm like, it's so rude. It's so rude. It's disrespectful. It's not funny. But that's what white folks sometimes feel like they want permission to say it, because we say it, you can do whatever you want. And it's just, no, you can't. And that's what this episode was about. And Lynn tries to explain, the word, when you saying it still affects me because I'm the black half of this. It affects her in a way it doesn't affect you. Again, a little clunky, but there's a message in there for anybody else out there who is black with white friends or people in white life. There's a bigger, larger message. It doesn't end there. So you think it would end there and then kind of whatever, wrap it up or whatever. No. Towards the end, because Joan says to Tony, to Lynn, that's still your sister. You still got to talk to her. You still, no matter what happens, you try to work it out. And she tries, and the whole point is we find out, and it's again clever and very interesting. She tried to show Lynn black culture because there was no blacks where they were growing up. And her parents, like you said, loved them to death. They didn't do the strongest job in bringing her culture to her. Wow, so the older sister took up the slack, went a little overboard, and then that embarrassed Lynn a little bit. So she came from a strong place. Her heart was in the right place. So assuming the character, we go back to the backstory as a kid. And then she said she started, but then she said, I found myself. I like the culture. I like the men. I feel natural this way. And I thought, that's interesting. They started out as something to kind of help out Lynn, but then she found herself. So as if the whole episode is very, very different than what was on television. It was not being talked about anywhere else. And I can see where it was divisive for many fans. Some folks thought it's still bad. Some folks thought it was great. Some folks liked it. Some folks didn't. Um, I like the episode. Like I said, I like it. I say go on. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but you get the DVDs. I think CWC or CW or BT Her. I think they actually show episodes. I'm sure they probably didn't cut it out. But tell me what you think. What do you think about this episode and its relevancy today? Is it okay to is it appropriation of culture? Can other cultures like our culture? Is there a line that they can't cross? They can like to a point, but there's a line they shouldn't cross for respect. Let me know what you think. Does the episode age well? Does it not age well? Did you like the episode? Whatever. Let me think in the comments below. Subscribe to my channels while you're here. We're on all audio platforms, and we're on the YouTube channel Space JLJ Media. You can find Girlfriends on Netflix, and I can talk to you next time.